Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started on the meeting. We have a pretty good amount of attendees here, so I think that we can get into it. I want to start by saying thank you for joining us this morning. Welcome. My name is Bradley Merrill. I am a senior public involvement representative for HNTV, and I'm also on the I-94 team. The purpose of this meeting today is to answer your questions about the upcoming 2nd Avenue Bridge move and to talk about the I-94 freeway closures that will go along with that move and those detours. MDOT has been building the 2nd Avenue Bridge in a parking lot, a Wayne State parking lot, for the past 2 years, and it'll finally be moved this summer. The work is part of the ongoing I-94 modernization project, Advanced Bridges program, to rebuild the bridges in the poorest condition before rebuilding the freeway. And so this meeting is being recorded, and it will be posted on the I-94 website, i94detroit.org. We'll have a slide at the end to let everyone know about where they can check that website out. And so the first part of our meeting, just about 30 minutes or so, we're going to show a presentation, talk about what kind of bridge it is, how it'll move, and those detours, and then we'll get into a Q&A segment. At that time, you can raise your hand or you can put a question in the chat. If you called in, press *9 to raise your hand. If you're using an assistive device with Windows, type Alt-Y or type Option-Y if you're on a Mac computer. Before we move on, I would appreciate it if everyone who joined by computer would take 2 minutes to complete the Title VI survey. The poll function should pop up on your screen. The survey is required as part of the Title VI Civil Rights Act of 1964, and it helps us assess our outreach efforts. So please just we'll wait 2 minutes here for everyone to complete the survey, and then we will get into the presentation. And I can begin sharing my screen so that presentation will be ready. Can you all see the presentation?
Yes, we can see it, Bradley.
Thank you. Just a couple more minutes for that survey. Should have had this up when I discussed what we were going to talk about. Okay. All right, we're almost fully done with the survey, just a few more people. Thank you all for taking the time to answer those questions. All right, we'll leave the survey up for anyone who may need to still take it, but I think we will go ahead and get into the presentation. I'll now introduce Dave Harris, Senior Construction Contracts Engineer for MDOT, and he is going to go over the 2nd Avenue Bridge for us. Go right ahead, Dave.
Okay, thank you, Bradley. Appreciate that. So the 2nd Avenue Bridge is what you see pictured here. So rendering of it and what it will look like when it's over 94. The 2nd Avenue Bridge is a skewed, unbraced, network tied arch bridge. And I'll try to explain what that is a little bit here without getting too much into the weeds, but the skewed part you'll see in another slide or two. You'll see what the deal is there, but the unbraced part of this bridge refers to the arches and how they are not connected at the top. The network refers to the hangers, the hanger cables that you see in the crisscross pattern here that connect the arch to the concrete at the bottom. I guess the tied arch part of this structure refers to how the arches anchor into the corners, the four corners, excuse me, and then is connected with a tie girder, a concrete tie girder across the bottom there. And this structure was chosen for 94 in this area because of the future interchange that we're going to change there at the lodge. Could you go back there? Thank you. So for the interchange there on 94 at the lodge, we need to have flexibility to be able to change that interchange with I-94 going under this bridge since it's so close. And so doing this bridge gives us the opportunity to not utilize the center pier or any other pier supports in the I-94 freeway area so that we can provide that new alignment in the future. All right, next slide, please. So as Bradley mentioned, we're building this bridge off-site in Wayne State University parking lot between Anthony Wayne and 2nd Avenue along Palmer. And kind of the three major reasons why we did this is, one, due to safety. We didn't want to have, some of these major things going on building this bridge anywhere near traffic or people. And so that was one of the reasons. Another reason for building the bridge this way is to also limit the amount of freeway impacts to I-94, because as you can see here in this photo, there's quite a lot going on in terms of temporary supports. You have cranes there, you have man lifts working on this thing, and this would just be quite a huge undertaking for impacts to I-94 and the traffic and congestion. So that was number two. Building it over here in the parking lot obviously allowed us to mitigate many closures on I-94. And then thirdly, one of the other reasons why we did it this way is because we could build this part of the structure in the parking lot next to the freeway while also building the abutments or the foundations of the bridge along 94. So those are kind of the three major reasons there. Next slide, please. So like I said before, the outline of this bridge is skewed, and it's, as you can see here, it's skewed 18 degrees. So this slide right here kind of gives you a good idea of the size of this structure compared to a football field if you're looking down at it from the top down. And so that's what that skew of this bridge is it's got that weird kind of angle to it for basically alignment of 2nd Avenue going across I-94. Next slide, please. So how are we going to move this bridge? That's with these self-propelled modular transporters, or SPMTs. And what essentially will happen is we'll lift the bridge up using hydraulic jacks in each corner. And then we will drive these SPMTs into place and then set the bridge down onto them in the parking lot. And then these SPMTs are all interconnected by one operator who will essentially drive the bridge into place over 94. And these SPMTs, they're automated in a way so that when they're driving over the grade, they'll maintain a level or maintain the bridge and keep it level so that we won't have any kind of twisting or racking, which could damage the structure. So can we go to the next slide, please? So this graphic here kind of gives an idea of exactly how we will move the bridge. And it's going actually pretty quick here, but in reality, it's actually gonna be quite a slow process. The bridge is gonna be moving at like 1 to 2 miles per hour. So really slow, like slow-mo walking speed, if you will. And that's gonna be, you know, just to make sure that we're checking this thing and taking a look at this thing as it's moving. And then as part of this, there's going to be a lot of, you know, setup and takedown, and with those SPMTs, taking things and apart and putting them back together in terms of the SPMTs for when we have the portion in the parking lot versus when we have the portion down on the freeway. So in all, the move will probably be about a day maybe up top in the parking lot, actual moving, maybe a day on the freeway actually moving, but there's going to be a lot of moving pieces setting up, taken down, and then trying to set this bridge in place over 94. That's going to take a lot of time before we're very comfortable with being able to open to traffic. And I think that segues kind of into this next slide here is, you know, we need these closures, a 7-day closure on 94, and then later another 5-day closure to be able to just do all of this safely. That's the key thing here with this move. Like I said, I guess one of the things is, you know, we want to make sure that we're able to thoroughly inspect this thing from start to finish, from when we pick it up all the way when we make the turn in the Palmer Ave, 2nd Ave area, and then when we launch it across the freeway. We need to make sure that, you know, we're not seeing anything that gives us a, oh, yep, we need to, you know, take a look and take care of it before we get it over the freeway. We're trying to see that and make sure that everything's looking good on this bridge at every step. And then also the 7-day closure allows the workers to work during the day, allows all of us to be there during the day, our inspectors, our designers to be able to watch this thing every step of the way. And then of course, you know, the 7-day closure gets traffic out of this whole area between the lodge and the I-75 freeways along 94. So that, you know, no traffic or anything will be anywhere close to this thing when it's moving. So there's no conflicts there. And then, of course, that other 5-day closure I mentioned, we're going to need that for some of the tensioning and cable adjustments that we'll need to do on this bridge later on down the road. And we don't want anything in terms of traffic or anything like that near this thing when we're trying to get this structure adjusted to its final resting place. Next slide, please. And now I'll turn it over to Mark Smith with HNTB to go through the detours and the closures.
Thank you, Dave. Yeah, so I'll walk us through the detours for I-94 when the bridge is closed. So the slide we have here is a map showing the kind of areas of impact for this closure on I-94. So you see, you know, 96 on the left of your screen, 75 on the right, and 94 on the top there with the lodge in the center. The red hashed out area is the hard closure limits for the 2nd Avenue bridge move. So between M10 and I-75, all entrance and exit ramps and the freeway will be closed. If you're trying to get across I-94, the bridge is over I-94 in this area at Woodward, John R., Brush, and Beaubien will still be open to traffic crossing I-94 as well as pedestrian traffic. For traffic on I-94 westbound, the traffic will be detoured as they approach the I-75 interchange with signing directing them to follow I-75 south. and continue on I-75 through the 96 interchange. At 96, you will get on westbound I-96, which will then take you back up to westbound I-94. Next slide. Similar to the previous slide, the closure again is between M10 and I-75. So here we're just showing the detour for eastbound I-75 or eastbound I-94. So for traffic on eastbound I-94, the hard closure would be at the M10 freeway there, where traffic would be signed to take M10 to the south. And then at the I-75 interchange, they would be picked up to stay on I-75 northbound, which would take them back up to eastbound I-94. One item to note here, the interchange at 96 in eastbound I-94 will be open as well. So that is an alternate for traffic eastbound I-94. You could use I-96 and take that down to the 75 interchange to get around the closure as well. But this will be the signed detour that's in place for the closure. All right, the map we have here is the closure on the local system. These closures have been in place for the past couple of years as 2nd Avenue has been closed. But we just wanted to highlight, how that closure is working. So 2nd Avenue will be, obviously closed over 94. One change is that the Palmer Road will also be, a closure will be on there as well now. And that's really just to get everything ready for the bridge move. But traffic will be able to cross I-94 with the signed detour route using Woodward Avenue. And traffic can get there via Warren Avenue on the south of 94 or Antoinette on the north side of 94. And then there's several other cross streets, Harper, Paquette, Burroughs as well, that would allow traffic to access Woodward to cross 94. All right, I know Dave had mentioned this slide previously, but we really just wanted to emphasize the importance of why the freeway needs to be closed for a full week. People may be used to weekend closures of freeways, whereas a continuous 7-day closure is not kind of the normal practice. But really, it is the safest option. As David mentioned, the process of moving the bridge in place with the SPMTs is very slow. Once the bridge is aligned with 94, the SPMTs have to be disassembled and moved down to 94 to continue the move across I-94. And then even after we get the structure over I-94, it still needs to be lowered to the street level of 2nd Avenue. And have set in place. And through that process, MDOT and their contractors are continuously inspecting everything, making sure that there's no excess stress being placed on the bridge, and really trying to cram that into a weekend. Working essentially 24 hours a day is not a good practice for something that is complicated as this. So by closing the freeway for a week, it allows MDOT to complete this work during daylight hours and really take their time and not rush this process, making sure that it's safe and secure before we open traffic back up to I-94. So as we discussed, there will be a 7-day continuous closure to move the bridge in place. MDOT is still working to finalize those dates with their contractor, but we're targeting for late July. After the bridge is in place, as David mentioned, there will be a future closure for the tensioning of the structure. and we estimate that that'll be taking place later this fall. But once those dates are finalized, we'll communicate that through our media sources, and the I-94 project team will get that out to everyone to make them aware of that closure. Thank you for your time there, and now I want to hand it over to Eric Fulvey, our Senior Project Manager for HNTB and the MDOT Owners Rep Consultant, with information on the community benefits of this bridge.
Thanks, Mark, and welcome everybody to the meeting today. Yeah, you can see on the screen here what 2nd Avenue will look like once the bridge is moved and all the roadway work is complete. 2nd Avenue is technically considered a community connector bridge in this corridor. A community connector bridge is a bridge that was identified by the community and stakeholders as being one of the highest used bridges and to enhance connections across the freeway. So the bridge was designed with that in mind. So it was designed with enhanced non-motorized accommodations and a little improved aesthetics on the bridge structure itself. You will see on the bridge there will be one 10-foot lane in each direction. The lanes are a little bit narrower on the bridge to slow traffic down. There's some concerns in the city about high traffic speeds in the corridor. So 10-foot lanes definitely will help reduce the traffic speeds in this area. Also on the outsides of the bridge, we'll be installing 5-foot bike lanes on both sides with a 3-foot buffer between the traveled lane and the bike lane, just to provide a little more safety for the bicycle user. The sidewalks are also wider than on other bridges in the corridor. We'll be providing a 9-foot sidewalk on the bridge. 2nd Avenue and along with 3rd and Cass are pretty heavily traveled pedestrian corridors. So having a wider sidewalk will help enhance that movement across the bridge. You'll also see, well, maybe it's a little hard to see, but there'll be lighting on the bridge itself at the roadway level, which will enhance safety, public safety. Oh, there you can see it. Those columns on the bridge will provide illumination not only at night but during the day to provide some safety for pedestrian crossings. And then there'll also be lighting on the outsides of the bridge, shining up at the network arch cables, as Dave mentioned earlier, really providing a pretty dramatic look during evening hours. And then last but not least, there'll be landscaping installed in the median of 2nd Avenue and also on the outsides of the bridge in those planter boxes you can see. So hopefully it provides a very nice community connection across I-94, and those are the benefits.
All right, thank you very much to all of our presenters.